Hi guys, and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to talk about how you can have CloudPanel and iRedMail hosted on the same server and working together as a full solution for hosting and email. So let's get right into it. First, you need to have a domain name. You can register a domain name with whatever register you want. I chose to go with Namecheap because I needed a cheap domain name for this example, and I registered this one, cp-irm.cloud. For me it was $2.19, and after I registered the domain, I pointed the domain to my hosting solution, so I can manage my domain names, DNS entries from my hosting solution. For the hosting solution, I went with Linode because Linode is a solution that I've used for many years now, and I was very satisfied with their support and everything. And I chose them for this example as well. Going further, on Linode, you can manage your domains from this side. There's a domain dashboard where you can create a domain, like I did here. Once you create a domain, you have access to all your DNS records, be it MX records, A records, CNAME records, so on and so forth. We're going to use these so we can configure our email server and our host server. This one we will delete because we don't need it anymore. These two, these ones we'll leave them as they are because we are going to demo a few capabilities of control panel. Today's video, it's a demo mostly on how CloudPanel and iRedMail can be on the same server and they can work just fine, because CloudPanel is a lightweight control panel solution for your websites. It does not offer email capabilities. Does not offer anything email related, so you need to have something else to do it, and that's why we are gonna go with iRedMail for that. So far we have a domain name registered with Namecheap. Once we get the domain name, we create a domain into our hosting solution, in my case Linode. Here I copy all the name servers and make my domain name to point to those name servers. And now I don't need to do anything else in Namecheap. I can close this one, and from now on I can work only in Linode's dashboard for domains and for hosting. Now a few technical details. Before you choose a Linode server, you need to know the requirements for both solutions. In case of CloudPanel, the requirements are 1 or more cores, 2 or more gigabytes of RAM, and 10 or more gigabytes of storage. So that's it for CloudPanel. CloudPanel can work on less than that, but this is required for, I don't know, a medium setup, let's say. It can work on less, it can work on more, obviously, but this is the recommended. For also, in terms of operating system, as you can see, you can go with Ubuntu or Debian. Either one of them will work just fine. For iRedMail, there's no specifications in terms of CPU, but they do require you to have at least 4 gigabytes of RAM for a low traffic production email server that has spam and virus scanning enabled. Other than that, you need to have port 25 opened. Also, they have something on their website, on the system requirements, they have affiliated link with Linode, and if you go and sign up using their referral link, you can get a voucher with credit of $15 or $20, and that will take off $20 of your first bill. Now, why did I mention these technical details? Is because when you choose a machine, you need to make some calculation in terms of how much you need, so both solutions can work together. And as I said previously, you need 2 gigs of RAM, 1 core, 10 gigs of storage for CloudPanel, and then you need 4 gigs of RAM for iRedMail. So that gives us at least 1 CPU, at least 6 gigs of RAM, 2 gigs from CloudPanel and 4 gigs from iRedMail, and at least 10 gigs of storage. Now, obviously, for an email server, you'll need more storage for that, because you will use that server to store your emails until you read them and delete them. Also, in terms of operating system, you can use Debian or Ubuntu for iRedMail as well. You'll see here on the iRedMail system requirements that you need a fresh working Debian or Ubuntu Linux. On CloudPanel, it's also recommended to have a fresh install of Ubuntu or Debian. And here is where the problems will start, because once you install one or the other, it's no longer a fresh install of the operating system. It's operating system plus something you added, either CloudPanel or iRedMail. In my tests, I went with install the operating system, install CloudPanel, then install iRedMail, and then do the changes so both of these solutions can work together. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can make that happen to have a full working solution. All right, going back to the hosting solution, you need to create a Linode server like I have here. This is my server that has 4 CPU cores, 8 gigs of RAM, 160 gigs of storage. And like I said, I chose this particular machine based on the needs that I have. You can go lower if you want to. I don't recommend it, but you can do that. So to create a Linode, come to the create button here, choose Linode, choose a operating system. In my case, I went with Ubuntu 2204, LTS. The region, I chose one that's closest to me, so I went with Frankfurt. And from the shared CPU tab, I chose Linode 8 gigs. In my case, I thought Linode 4 gigs of RAM will only cover the email needs, right? So I went with the next best solution, which is Linode 8 gigs. Now, if you want to use 2 separate machines, that's fine, but that's not the scope of this video. This video is meant to show you how to install both on the same machine. If you go with 2 machines, then you can probably go with Linode 4 and Linode 2 and have it installed on 2 separate machines, and it should work just fine. Now that we've done that, we have the Linode account created, we have the machine. So basically here you go through this page, you choose operating system, region, what type of machine you want, you give it a name, you can also give it a tag, input a root password, or add an SSH key to have a passwordless authentication, add VLANs if you need to, and I also suggest you to choose private IP. Once you've done all that, click on Linode, create Linode button on the bottom, and you'll be good to go. Cool. Now that we have all that done, in the dashboard, you'll have your server. Here you have some important informations like your IP address for the machine, command to connect to your IP address via SSH. Remember, these are Linux machines, so you need to use an SSH. If you're on Windows, you can use PuTTY to connect to this machine. If you are on a Linux or Mac OS machine, you can use the terminal like I have here. So I have a terminal here, and I copy this command, paste it in here, and connect. It's going to ask me for the root password. Remember, when you create the machine, you have to provide the root password and remember it, because here's where you're going to use it. If I put the password correctly, now I'm logged in into my machine and I'm good to go. Now, because I'm lazy and I don't want to type in the password every time I connect to the machine, what I do is I create an SSH key and I copy that key to the remote machine. To generate a key, it's SSH-keygen-t, the type of the key, -f, and name the file. These files will be stored on the location that you provide when you issue this command. If you leave it like that, it's going to generate this file on the current directory. So let's say I'm going to downloads. Okay, let's make a directory here, say change to that directory, and now I can generate the key here. You'll need to enter a passphrase if you want to. You can press enter or return if you don't want to have a passphrase. Same passphrase again, and now your key is generated. So you'll have a private key and a public key. The file that's ending in .pub is going to be the public key, and the other file is going to be the private key. To copy this key on your remote host, you need to issue the following command: ssh-copy id -id -i, the file name, then the user at, and your IP or host name. I've done that already. I cannot do it again because it's not going to like it. And now, if I connect to my host, like SSH, root, at, and provide the identity file, it's going to connect me without asking for a password. Now you can go a bit further, a step further, and configure the host to connect automatically without asking for a password. But that's for separate videos. Now let's continue with our tasks. Once you've created the machine, right? So now you have the machine, you can SSH into it. Let me connect to it. What you want to do is apt either get or without a get, it depends on your preference. Do update and upgrade. And you spell correct update and it's gonna work, I promise you. Cool, now we need to wait to finish. For me, it looks like I don't have any updates to do. Probably I've done those already, can't remember, but yeah, if you've done that, it's all good. Next step is going to be to install the CloudPanel, which is a fairly simple task to do. So here, once you've gained access to your machine, you can close this. You don't need it anymore if you don't want to. So, you know, it's fairly easy. Now, on CloudPanel, if you go to Get Started and go Installation on Other, because as you can see, there's no Linode guide here. There is for Vultr, Azure, GCE, and other services, but there's no specific one for Linode. Although I think with Vultr, it's going to be similar. Let me see. Yeah, it's pretty much the same process, and probably there is going to be one for Linode, but right now there is none. So we're gonna go with Other. First things first, you need to install curl wget and sudo. We already have sudo, so we're going to try to install curl wget, and it looks like we already have all those. So we're going to move to the next step. You need to choose your database engine. For mine, it's MariaDB, which is a open source fork from MySQL. It's going to be sufficient, so I'm gonna copy that command, paste it in here, and wait for it to go through the full installation, which is going to take a while. Alright guys, we're back and the installer has finished. As you can see here, the installation of CloudPanel is complete. CloudPanel can be accessed now via this link. So it gives you the IP address :8443, and you can go there, copy this link, go here, paste it, access it. Now, because it's a self-signed certificate, it's going to give you a warning, so you can go to advanced and you can go accept the risk and continue. It's not going to be a problem, because later on we are going to generate a SSL certificate for our control panel, and it's going to be all good. Now here it's the initial admin user creation, so you can give it a name. You can give a name to it, so I'm gonna go with cp irm. Username, I'm gonna go with admin at cp-irm.cloud. Use a secured password, 123. I think it's gonna work. Time zone, you can choose the time zone where you are. I was on Frankfurt, but Berlin will work as well. Once you've done all that, agree to the license agreement, read through it, make sure you agree to it, then create user. This user and this password are going to be used further to connect to the CloudPanel web interface. I don't want to save, and now go to my admin, password 133, and there you go guys, here we have the CloudPanel. All right, next step that I usually do is go to the admin area, go to settings, and create a custom domain so I can generate an SSL certificate with Let's Encrypt, so I don't have that nasty error at the beginning. And what I do is cp-irm.cloud, but there is one thing that you need to take in account. If you do this, you need to have this particular record already set in your DNS, which we have, at least in my case. So if I go to Linode, log in, it logs me in. If I go to my domains and my particular domain, I already have the CPA record. So cp.irm.cloud. So it's already in there and it's pointing to this particular machine that I've installed on. So in my perspective, I'm good to go with this. If you don't have it, I suggest first you go here into your domain, create the A record. So add an A record, type in CP, type in the IP address, which is this one that you have there, not my IP address. You use your own IP address and then hit save. Now, be advised, sometimes it takes a while for these records to get registered and pushed. So before you continue with setting up the custom domain, make sure that particular subdomain it's reachable. So how you can do that, you can ping it. So ping cp.cp-irm, my bad, irm.cloud. And as you can see, I can ping it and it's responding with the proper IP address. So I can move ahead. My suggestion is you create the A record and you wait until that A record is pingable. You can ping it and you get response back. Otherwise, the SSL certificate generation is not going to work. And you're going to have a bad time with that. But if that's done, you hit save here. Now it's going to take a little bit of time to generate the certificate. And when it's done, we're going to have a green banner here saying that this is saved, and now we can access via this URL. So let's go here, input that, and voila, it's not giving us a warning. And if we go to the log here, it's saying connection is secured. You are securely connected to this website, and it's verified by Let's Encrypt, and you can go and see all the certificate data if you need to, but you know, that's it. Okay, I need to make this not ask or save. All right, cool. Now we have the CloudPanel up and running. Let's see, we have VP. Let's create a WordPress site. So one of the features of the CloudPanel is it's fairly automated. So you can come here, add a website, and then you can choose from these options. You can deploy a WordPress site, PHP website, Node.js, old school static HTML site, or a Python website. For our case, we're going to go with a WordPress site because we already have a domain for it. And we're going to say vp.cp-rm.cloud. We're going to call it cp-rm demo. Then you can save all this data, choose a multi-site for WordPress if you need to. Once you have all this information saved, you should save this information. So this user, it's used for WordPress when you want to go to the WordPress admin site. When all this is done, you can hit create, and it's going to create the website for us. Now we're not done with that. If you wait a little bit, once this creation process reaches 100%, we will need to issue an SSL certificate. Once the creation is done, it's going to give you all the information required for you to manage your site, and you will have the site user, database user, and database username, database password, and then you have the WordPress data that you're going to use to manage your WordPress instance. Save all this information somewhere safely, like I am now, and we are done. We can go back to sites, and as you can see here on our list, we have our WordPress instance. Now, our WordPress instance is also under a self-signed certificate, and it's going to throw us a nasty error. If we go here, oh, here it's just for management, but if we try to access the URL, see, it's giving us that nasty warning, and we can go ahead, it's not a problem. We can go ahead and access the website, but it's saying that this connection is not secured because the SSL certificate is self-signed, so it doesn't have an SSL an authority to confirm authenticity. So let's fix that. Go back here to your CloudPanel, go to Manage, go to SSL TLS, Actions, and New Let's Encrypt SSL certificate. Now it's warning you that a DNS record pointing to the server is required in order to issue the Let's Encrypt certificate. And this goes the same way as it did for the previous action that we've done with the CP. You need to create an A record, a VP, that's called whatever your subdomain is going to be called. Yep. In my case, it's a vp.cp-irm.cloud, and it needs to point to this machine. If you have that already and it's pingable, right? So let's go back to the terminal and ping it. vp.cp-irm.cloud. See, it's pingable and it's returning the proper IP address. So if you have that, you're good to go to generate the SSL certificate. If you're not, you will need to first create the A record, wait for it to be active, and once it's active and responding to ping, then you can come here and generate. So when you're ready, click create and install. It's going to take a few moments to install, to generate the SSL certificate, and behind the scenes is going to link that certificate to this domain or subdomain, and you'll have this green banner confirming it's all good. You can go ahead. And now if we go to vp.cp-irm.cloud, see, no more warnings. The connection is secured, so the lock, it does not have a X mark on it. Connection is secured, everything is good to go. And here you have the, let's see, vp-admin, I think, if I spell correct. And here you can use the information. Okay, let me grab a text editor. Not this one. Let's go to here, and let's copy the WordPress information. So admin, and the password is this one. And now we're here, and we have this WordPress admin interface where we can start customizing our website. All right, and as you saw, the process is fairly simple. It takes literally seconds to do it, and you're done. You can do a whole bunch of stuff, but this video is not dedicated to show off just how CloudPanel works. If you want to learn more about CloudPanel, my suggestion is to join the Discord channel. And there you'll get all the help you need. The guys are fairly friendly. If your question make any sense, if you ask for help on that channel, guys will help you, but make sure your questions are make sure your questions are related to CloudPanel and not other solutions, because you don't go to Microsoft asking them how to work with Linux, right? Common courtesy, it's required. Okay, cool. Now that we have CloudPanel done and it's working and we have a website on it and we're happy, now we need an email server. And this is where things get quite complicated, to say. Not extremely, but it's going to be messy for a little while. So here, this is done. We can log out. We're good to log out, and let's go here. Here we want to install iRedMail, but on the same machine. So that's where things get interesting. First things first, we need to download or grab iRedMail and put it on the server. So go here to iRedMail.org, download.html, right click on this stable green button and copy link. Now go onto your machine via SSH. You can reboot the machine if you want to, and I'm actually going to reboot the machine. Okay, cool. Now we can SSH into it. A good indication that CloudPanel has been installed successfully is that the MOTD message is changed. As you can see, you have the welcome to CloudPanel instead of the Linode's default MOTD or the welcoming message when you do an SSH session. Now you are sure that CloudPanel is installed. Also, here are some important informations that will help you. Basically, you have a command line tool for CloudPanel, which is CLP-CTL, so control panel control CTL. If you issue this command just like this, it's going to give you the options that you have with this command, and from here you can do a bunch of stuff related to Cloudflare, related to basic authentication, for database, for Let's Encrypt. You can create sites from the command line if you don't want to use the web interface. You can set users and permissions and templates for virtual host. Now that we've finished with that, we are in the root directories, and now we want to copy the iRedMail. So wget and the RedMail archive. You can see here we have the archive. Now let's unzip it. So extract, and now we have the archive and the folder after extraction. So we can remove the archive because we don't need it anymore. All we need is the iRedMail folder. Going back to iRedMail and bash iRedMail sh, and now we're on track. This script is going to bring a bunch of stuff, but before it does that, you need to activate some repositories, so you'll have some interaction with this script. First things first, adding a multiverse component to repositories, hit enter. Adding a universe to all repositories, hit enter, and wait for the next prompt. There is going to be a sort of graphical interface like this one. It's a wizard. Okay, so welcome to iRedMail. You need to read through this, type yes. Please specify the directory used to store users' mailboxes. Default is var vmail. This will work for us. So go with next. Choose a web server you want to run. If you want to run a web server, so let's say you want to have a webmail.cp.irm in order for your clients to, or yourself to connect to your email via the web browser. If you don't need one, you choose no web server. I'm gonna go with Nginx because this is where the fun happens, and do next. Now you need to choose a database. I'm gonna go with Postgres because I'm familiar with it and it's a bit optimized. Here you need to set a password for the Postgres user, which is the administrator user for PostgreSQL. You need to note this password down someplace. Also make sure you put a strong password. An empty password is not allowed. Okay, you need to specify your root domain. So in my case, and also it cannot be the same as your host name. In our case, our host name is mail.cp.cp-irm.cloud, but in my case, the root domain name is cp-irm.cloud. Hit next. Now you need to specify the password for Postmaster. This is also important for you to remember it and write it down someplace, because this is going to be used to manage the web, to manage your web server. Okay, and here you choose the components that you want for your server. I go with Roundcube, NetData, iRedMail, and fail to ban. And this is good for me. I don't go with Sogo because I don't need webmail, calendar, address, and whatnot. If you need those, you can select the option by moving down and hitting space. And you need to take in account that you'll probably need more RAM than the 4 gigs of RAM, 4 gigs default. Once you've done all that, click on hit next. It's going to show you a preview on what you've configured. If you like it, then click type in Y and hit enter to continue, and it's going to install all the required packages, which is going to take a while, about 10 minutes or so, depending on your machine. I'm going to be back once it's done. Alright guys, so we're back, and here you'll see a preview of what you've configured during the wizard, including your username, your password, and how to get to some of the features that it offers. So here we have this one that it's not working. Right, because for me it's set to redirect to everything else. It's set to redirect to CP. And right now this is not going to work, but we can copy this and have it ready, but we will need to restart our server. So we have copied the links, and now we can reboot. In the meantime, let's ping the server. Let's see when it bounces back. It's gonna take a while, and this is when the fun starts, because now there's two solutions fighting to use the same Nginx server with their particular configuration files, and nothing is gonna work in the end. So let's fix those issues and move on to configure so that we can have everything working. Also, I think reverse DNS, it's in an important part to set. So while this is rebooting, let me go to Linode, go to my Linode server, to this one, go to network, and here we have our DNS, and we can edit our DNS and set it to mail.cp.rm.cloud. Hit save, and we're good to go. Let's see if the machine bounced back. Okay, it's going to take a little longer. It's now responding back to being cool, and now we can SSH back into it. And voila, we are here and it's working. Cool. Now let's see what else is working. If CloudPanel is still working, it should not work. Like I mentioned, if it's working, it's a miracle. But one thing that it should work is iRedMail. Oh, actually, no. It's not supposed to work yet. We need to fix everything that's messed up in Nginx right now. That's why we need the SSH connection. So let's go to etc Nginx. Now, if you want to test Nginx to see what's wrong, you can do nginx-t, and it's going to say a bunch of stuff. Now, I already know what's wrong. Nginx was overwritten, but before that happened, they were kind enough to back up the previous installation. But what we're going to do is we're going to back up the current installation and we're going to bring back the old installation, right? The CloudPanel one. That's what we're going to use, but we're going to add some stuff, which is not very hard to do. So let's do move nginx.conf to nginx.conf iRedMail and cp nginx.conf dot whatever it's called to nginx.conf, and now we'll try to test it again. It's gonna fail again because we still need to do some stuff. So nginx-t, now it's giving us different errors. These errors are mostly conflict between what CloudPanel configures and what iRedMail is supposed to configure. A bunch of stuff are the same, so they cannot merge it because the instructions are repeating themselves in some cases. In other cases, some instructions are missing because iRedMail uses its own configuration and CloudPanel uses its own configuration, but you can merge it together to make it work. So let's vim nginx and let's go to the bottom of the file, and here we need to include some stuff. So let's include above and say include etc nginx, and we need the conf. So let me create another session to make sure I have the path right. cd etc nginx. All right, and we need to do, I think, conf enabled. Right, let's do conf enabled. So path, oops, not path, pt, yeah, conf enabled, and we want every file that ends in .conf. Cool, we've done that. Now nginx-d to see again, and this is where the duplicate is giving us issues. Now you can go in each of these conf files, change the directives for each and every one of those if you want to, but what I found out it's easier and it works just fine is just remove those links. So here rm-f, and now it's going to give us a different error, and this is related to client max body. So remove client max body. Default type, next, the gzip directives, send file, server tokens, type hash, and syntax is okay. Test config successful. So now this one works. You'll see a bunch of warnings saying duplicate extension, AVI, WMV, ASF, ASX, so on and so forth. If you want to fix those warnings, these will not impact you very heavily, but if you want those fixed and you don't like having duplicate extensions, you can go and change adjust the extensions, see where these extensions live, like in default type, I think, but we can work through that. Obviously this is not the most beautiful solution. It's a solution to take you from 0 to up and running, and then you can iron out these little bugs on your own if you want to. But right now this should be working just fine, but we need to do something else. So here, let me exit out of this one, because sorry, right now if we go to, so let's list the current directory, and if we go to sites enabled, we only have the iRedMail one. We don't have the sites we've created with the CloudPanel, but those are not lost. If we look into sites enabled .back, they're here. So what we want to do is copy everything from, okay, so let's do sites enabled .back, copy everything in sites enabled. Now if we check sites enabled, we have everything here. Let's test Nginx now, make sure it doesn't give us any errors. So syntax is still okay, test is successful. Let's test to see if the service is running. So systemctl status Nginx, it's up and running. So let's restart it. Systemctl restart Nginx. Cool. Let's see, CloudPanel still works. So cp that .cprm cloud, it's working. Now we fixed the Nginx issue, but there's another issue. If we want to connect here, so admin and my password, we have a problem. This is not going anywhere. It keeps redirecting us back to the login page. This was an issue that the guys on CloudPanel forum, Discord channel, sorry, helped me to figure out. It's basically a permissions override during the installation of iRedMail. There we go, guys. We fixed it. So basically, we need to change the permissions for sessions in varlib PHP to 777, and then sessions can be created once more, and then you can connect to the website. You saw the initial connection gives us a invalid CRF token, but if you refresh the page, then it's going to work properly. Let's see if iRedMail it's working properly. Yes, it is. It's going to give you warnings because it's also a self-signed certificate, so it doesn't like it, but you can fix that as well with doing the following: et install snap wait for it to install, and then install certbot. So snap install -- classic certbot. Wait for it to install, and then we're gonna issue a certificate for mail.cp.irm.cloud. But we also need to make sure we have mail in our DNS records. And we do. So this is good. We're going to make this part work. So let's do this. The command is certbot cert only -- webroot pointed to var www HTML, and the domain is going to be mail.cp.irm.cloud in my situation. Wait for the certbot to generate the certificate. Okay, so postmaster at cp.irm.cloud. Okay, read the terms and condition. Do you agree? Yes, I do agree with the terms and condition. At this time, I'm not going to share data with EFF because this is a test account and it's not going to live for long. But I'm already sharing some data on my personal account, so I'm going to go with no here. But there you go. So it's generating the SSL certificate, which we're gonna configure it in the next step. For security reasons, we need to change the permission. So do chmod 0755 for the path that we've received here, etc. Let's encrypt. And we're gonna use archive and live, or live and archive doesn't really matter. Okay, we've done that, and now we need to attach the certificate. But first, let's make a backup of the current certificate. So we're gonna move what's in etc SSL certs iRedMail .crt to .bkp, as in backup. So now it's creating a file that's called iRedMail.cert.bkp, and from private we're gonna do the same thing with the key. Alright, so we've made a backup of the certificate and the key. Now let's bring in the keys that we've generated using Let's Encrypt. So we're going to create symbolic links with ln-s etc. Let's encrypt live mail full chain to etc SSL certs and iRedMail.crt, and this is the certificate. And let's do another one for the key. So let's encrypt live mail private key to etc SSL priv iRedMail.key. Okay, let's reboot the Nginx. Actually, I don't think we need to reboot the Nginx. We just need to refresh here. Let me do it here. So mail.iRedAdmin. Alright, and now says connection is not secured. But why? Let's view the certificate. What? Okay, let's restart Nginx. Systemctl restart Nginx. Okay, I think a reboot is in order. A reboot of the server. So might as well just do it, because then we need to do some other stuff with the DNS. But let's see if just rebooting the rebooting the Nginx worked, right? So the connection is now secured, and here you can connect with not Postgres, Postmaster, and your password, the one that you set during the installation. I think that's the, yeah, just spell correctly and it's going to be fine, I guess. And I don't think, yeah, I don't really think you need to do the at cp-rm, so let me try that. Postmaster. Oh, actually you do need to put the domain in there, so yeah, postmaster at your domain, and then the password that you set during the installation wizard, and you're here, and you can now create domains and manage your domains and create emails and so on and so forth. But we are not done yet. There are a few more stuff to do. But before we do that, we could reboot the server. And I'm gonna come back once the server is rebooted. Alright guys, so I think the server has rebooted by now. Yep. And let's see. We have the VP working. We have the CloudPanel working fine. And we have the iRedMail working fine. Now we need to add some records in our DNS. And the first thing is the root domain, which we already have. Then we need to have a mail subdomain, which we already have. And we need a www a record domain for redirection. And for that, we're gonna add one to point to our IP 45.79 250 115 and hit save. Cool. Now we need to add an MX record. Here we need to configure the server, which is going to be mail.cp.irm.cloud. Preference is going to be 10, and this is all we need. All right. Now we need to add an SPF, but we're going to use a text record instead. That it's going to look like this. V equals SPF1 AMX IP4. It's going to be our IP address 45.79.250.115 space tilde all, and that's it. Then we need to add an MX record, another MX record here. It says autoconfig first mail.cp.irm.cloud autoconfig. Now we need another MX record pointing to mail for auto discover, and hit save. Now we need to add another text record. It's gonna be _.dmarc with the value v equals dmarc1. I think I misspelled this one. Yep, p equals none. And we're done. Save. And the last one, it's going to be another text record. Which looks like this: dkim _domain key. And now we need to grab the domain key. To do that, we're going to go back to the console here and type in the following command to get the key: mavisd-new without space, new, and show keys. And this is going to show us the key. And we need to grab that key starting from here up to here and paste it in here. And we need to remove all these. Yep. Make sure you remove the double quotes. Leave just the double quotes surrounding the entire key. Okay. And with this, we're done. We're gonna save it, and we are done with setting the DNS records. Another thing that you need to take in account is that your host provider might not have port 25 by default enabled. So everything that goes through port 25, it's going to be blocked. For you to test this, it's fairly simple. You can do from the command line telnet portquiz.net, and the port you want to test, in our case, is port 25. And for us, the port 25 is open because I've requested to Linode they lift the restriction for port 25, and they were kind enough to lift the restrictions, and now I can send emails back and forth from my instance. Okay, now let's set up an email address. Okay, let's create a user. We have the postmaster, and let's add another user. Let's say admin. Set the display name. Leave English if you don't want to set a quota, leave it blank, and it's going to be infinite. Click add, set the time zone, whatever you want. I'll put Europe, Berlin, Brussels, Berlin, okay. And if you have an employee ID, you can set it here. I don't have one. I hit save. And now let's see if it works. Let's do mail / webmail mail. Mail. Yep, and Roundcube is here to help us. And let's do admin at cp-rrm.cloud. Use the password. All right, and this is our inbox. Now, right now we don't have any emails, but let me try to send one from a different email account. Give me just a second. I'm on the other screen. You won't see it, but you should see the email coming in. So cp-rrm.cloud. Cool. Test mail. I hope this works. Okay, I've sent it. Message sent. Let's give it a few moments to see if it comes into my inbox. I'm also checking the other email to see if it bounces back. If it does, it means I messed up something into... No, it doesn't bounce back. It's coming in. So it's from another account and it says test mail. I hope it works. I really hope it works, and it works just fine. Let's reply to this email. It really works. I'm gonna send it, and in a few seconds, actually I have it already. The reply, I already have it in my other inbox, so it's all working fine. And guys, in conclusion, this was the setup of CloudPanel and iRedMail on the same host, working together to give you a full solution for hosting an email. Hope you like this video. If you do, leave it a thumbs up. If you don't, the other button works just fine. And leave some comments if you need other details, or if you want to have other videos done on this subject. Thank you for watching and have a good one, guys. Cheers. Bye.